Good morning. Welcome to today's family service. My name is Alan Sakamoto. I'll be your chairperson for the day. We will begin this morning's service with Sambujo on pages 24 and 25. Next, we will have Sutra Chanting, Se Gei, on page 93. Page 93.
長世願一心無常の思案不満の聖不上昇が我無量無二大聖主無最小民具聖不上昇が過失上無の妙正長実法不教未証門聖不上昇が意欲人少年上映主門領四空無浄土一生天人知人力現代語無償無才の少女三空の交際集約難会議知恵滅死根も案永息小悪道通達全宗門大少女満足異様老実法日月修十期天道本不言一種解放像公正不独語情報大集中説法知識不要一切物無尊主の門関連出場門特に三界を妙仏無下地通達未不詳願楽名義投資最小尊非難逆効果大戦法感動航空商店に大人よけ
Please stand for the Gatha, We Are One, on page 150 in the White Book. Page 150. and remain standing for the reading of the three treasures on page 8.
Please switch to the purple books, page 8. Three treasures, number 1. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Please be seated.
Now Reverend Fujimoto will share a Dharma message with us.
Namanda, 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 Namanda. Okay, good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. So we have a lot of things going on here. We're going to connect the dots so it all makes sense to people. Okay. Today is the 16th, and each month on the 16th, this is Shinran Shonin, our founder's memorial. Okay. So each month at our major temples, we have a Gomei Nichi service. This is honoring Shinran Shonin's the date of birth, okay? So we have this on the 16th, and not too often, you know, it might be on a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever, and I hold the service here. And it's usually just myself. So this time, the 16th, just happens this month and next month, that it's on Sunday. So Jane, in her wisdom, thought it'd be a good idea to let people know and that the 16th, the Gomei-Nichi service, special service, will be held on Sunday at 9 o'clock before this 10 o'clock service. So she had me do a write-up, and I'm sure you all read it many times in the Upaya, right? So I kind of explained what the Gomei-Nichi was and what's it about and what happens here. And so today we had our service. So not everyone was able to find this article. So it's only about 1/3 full or so. But we're very happy to have this service this morning. So this is connecting us to Shinran Shonin. And last week was our Eitaikyo service. And we recognize families include more people onto the Eitaikyo registry, and we are honoring people in our families, in our lives, that have supported the temple and allowed this temple to continue. And funds are provided so that into the future it goes on and gone. And at the Gomei-Nichi service, we chant the sutras, and so when we acknowledge these people, the sutras are read basically forever, in perpetuity, to recognize and honor the contributions of these people. So in thinking about and tying these things together, I thought for Shinran Shonin, someone dear to him, that meant something to him, who would be in his Eitaikyo service. So, for myself, I think people, there's so many people that have influenced our lives, but in terms of our spiritual growth, I think I would have to think of my father or Reverend Yamaoka and some certain key people. And I think for Shinran Shonin, it would be his teacher, Honen Shonin, right? So we hear a little bit about Honen Shonin, but not a lot. So I thought I'd share in the spirit of Eitaikyo, in the spirit of Shinran Shonin, his teacher, Honen. So on this side of the altar, we have the 7 masters that we see. We kind of don't know who they are, but they look like 7 masters. And when we look at how they are dressed, the top 2, Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, have like almost mythical appearance, but they are monks from India, closer to the time of the historical Buddha. And the next 3 are from China. So the clothing they wear, the chairs that they're sitting on, have a Chinese look, Chinese influences. So the 3 masters from China. And this is kind of depicting the lineage of the teachings that we receive, how it came clearer and more distilled as it came through these masters. So the bottom 2 are kind of more like wearing these types of Japanese robes, Genshin and Genku. Genku is another name for Honen Shonin, Shinran's teacher. Okay, so these are the teachers, the 7 masters. When we chant this morning's service, the earlier service, the Shoshinge, they're listing each one of these 7 masters and how they contributed to these teachings coming to us. So I thought, maybe it'd be something special to talk about Honen that we don't usually hear too much about. Okay. So I remember when I went through my ordination, what is that, 20 years ago now? I was in Japan, and small group, Reverend Bridge was in my group to get our 2nd ordination, and this would qualify us to come back to serve as ministers. And I was on my last day, the final day in Japan, and I'm going to go home that day. And I used to run then too, so I would always go on a morning run. I thought, this is my last chance. And so from Honganji, our mother temple, I ran to Honen's mother temple, which is also in Kyoto. And it's like 8 kilometers, what is that, like 4 or 5 miles away. And so I'd never been there, so trying to find my way, meandering my way through Kyoto, and I finally got there, and I got, shorts and t-shirt, all sweaty, and I'm going up there, and the monks over there, one of them said hello. So I told him in my broken Japanese that I came from America. I got for my ordination. Today's my final day in Japan. I'm going home. So I ran here from Honganji. So you ran here, and so he was pleasantly impressed with that. So he brought out some postcards in a little package that they give to people that they want to thank, right? So they gave me this, and so I was happy. He was happy. Someone made such an effort to come to his temple, and I felt, happy that I could accomplish that, to get there before I would come home. So kind of my appreciation of Honen Shonin, okay? And so this was my trip there, and then I had found, it's called a one-sheet document, and I just hang it up in my office, and it's written by Honen. I'll talk about this later, but just one sheet of his teachings, kind of getting to the gist of his teachings. So, wow, that's kind of cool. But you don't really study and read about Honen, but you hear in Shinran's life and his story how he always revered Honen. I'm not teaching any more than what I have been taught and what was provided to me by my master, Honen Shonin. Okay, so he was always deferred to Honen, and one of the things we appreciate in getting to know Shinran is he's so humble. Everything he says, how he carries himself, even in our temple, Amida is in the front, right? Shinran is just quietly sitting to the side of the altar, and that's not always the case. All the other Buddhist schools, their master might be at the center, like I'm the baddest dude in the world kind of sense. But no, Shinran, quiet, humble, like this. So kind of an example for all of us, okay? So Honen Shonin he lived from 1133 to 1212. So, he was the older, and Shinran was one of his disciples. And he had studied many years on Mount Hiei, where Shinran Shonin went to study as well. And this is a Tendai monastery, okay? Tendai Buddhism. There was no Jodo Shu at that time, okay? So he studied there, and he was recognized as one of the eminent scholars of Buddhism, and he had read the Buddhist scriptures a number of times, and not many people can say that. So he was very, very well known as one of the key scholars of Buddhism. So he read one of the commentaries of one of the Chinese masters, and so he learned about this Namo Amida Butsu teaching, and he devoted himself to study and to practice and share this Nembutsu and this Pure Land teachings of Buddhism. Okay, so that's how he had come to the Nembutsu. So Professor Mark Blum, he teaches at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, and I appreciate how he presents, and he was telling me, a few years ago, they had the 750th memorial in Japan and here as well of Shinran Shonin. And so they had these services, like 2 weeks long services, and all these presentations in different buildings. They would have displays of things from his life and writings and things like this. So a huge to-do all over Kyoto. And when they would have a similar thing for Honen as well, right? So Professor Blum is talking about this, and I think they're kind of close in the times they would be there. So you could go. He went to the Shinran Shonin thing, and a lot of people came, right? Lots of people. This Jodo Shinshu is probably the largest school of Buddhism in Japan currently. And so he's going, and the crowds that are going, huge crowds going to these things. When you go to a exhibit, display, it's there 2 or 3 people deep that you have to wade in to see what they're showing. He said, but Honen, when you go to Honen's, it's by far bigger bigger by far, maybe like 3 times as many people as who would see come to the Shinran thing. So when you go to his exhibits, you're like 7 or 8 people back, and you have to wait. Finally, you get to the front and see what they're all looking at. And so by far, the footprint in Japanese culture and history that Honen left is way more than Shinran Shonin. When Shinran passed away, people didn't really know him, of him, okay? He didn't leave that kind of footprint in Japanese history. But Honen, everybody knew Honen, right? Later, when Shinran became known, you would find his name in religious writings, right? Religious writings. But Honen, his name is everywhere. Cultural writings, government writings, they would refer to him. So many different other practices that he had influenced when he was in Japan. So kind of incredible, right? We don't even hear about these things. And so in one of Professor Blum's lectures, he's talking about the accomplishments of Honen Shonin. And in Japan, he was the first to have his essay written in Chinese and then printed in Japan. First to have his essays written in Japanese and printed in Japan. He's the first Buddhist sect to found the first Buddhist sect in Japan without a face-to-face transmission from a master in China. The first one, okay? And so many things that he was like the pioneer of the movement of Buddhism in Japan, okay? So I think that last year or 2 years ago, we studied the Tanisho, very well-known writings about the teachings of Shinran Shonin. And in there, he mentioned, just a couple times I want to mention, that he referred to Honen. And on chapter 12 in the Tanisho, he says, I'll have no regrets, even if I should have been deceived by Honen Shonin, by uttering the Nembutsu. You know, telling people that he learned this Nembutsu teachings from Honen. If I recite the Nembutsu and fall into hell, I would have no regrets. And the reason is, if I could become a Buddha by doing all these other practices that the other Buddhists are doing, if I did those practices and fell into hell because I'm reciting the Nembutsu instead, then I might be feeling regret. But I'm not capable of any of these practices that they're doing. I'm not capable. I can't do that. So I'm going to fall into hell anyway. I'm going to follow my teacher in this kind of humble sense that he's going to believe and trust in his teacher because he's not capable of doing these practices. Okay? Not because he's lesser, but because this is his understanding of how our self-centeredness, our ego works. You know, I can do. And so you're not open to other power coming to you. Okay. And in the Tanisho again, in the 12th chapter, since the name is made easy to utter by those illiterates, not familiar with the sutras and the commentaries. See, the Nembutsu, just recite the Nembutsu. It's a practice for all beings, anyone. You don't have to be a scholar. Anyone can follow this kind of teaching. Because of this, it's called the easy practice. It says what makes learning, when learning is essential, that's the path of sages. And that's what's called the difficult practice. Okay? So learning is essential. That's the difficult practice. And this Nembutsu is the easy practice. And so because of ego, we might think, well, I want to learn the more difficult one. I can do that. Maybe I'll take some classes. I don't want to just do what everyone does and recite the Nembutsu. Let me learn. And then this is like feeding the ego in a sense, right? Our own effort. I can do it. And by making our effort, there's this shell. And we're invincible. We're not open to this infinite coming towards us. And that's what the Nembutsu practice is. So And finally, in that same chapter 12, Shinran is telling about this time. He's kind of referring to this time that he heard this story from Honen's life, that he was called upon by this scholar, brilliant scholar, had come to visit Honen Shonin and had questions for him about birth in the Pure Land. How does the Nembutsu work? And they had this discussion, question and answer, and back and forth, and this scholar's trying to come to his conclusion and ask all the questions that he had. And after the interview, Honen turns to his student and says, I'm very doubtful about his birth in the Pure Land, right? He's so wrapped up in himself that he's, he might not make it. That poor guy is not going to make it, right? And so this kind of sense that his teachings are not about the scholarly learning. It's a different type of learning to open ourselves, okay? And so this is a one-sheet document that I said I have hanging in the room. It's usually clean and not scribbled on, but for today, I thought I'd read a little bit of it. He wrote, in China and Japan, many Buddhist masters and scholars understand that the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, is to meditate deeply on Amida Buddha and the Pure Land. So to meditate deeply, to study about the Nembutsu, to come to this meditative samadhi mind, as we sit there, reflect, read, study deeply. He says, however, I do not understand the Nembutsu in this way. Reciting the Nembutsu does not come from studying and understanding its meaning. There is no reason or cause by which we can utterly believe in attaining birth in the Pure Land by studying. Okay, it doesn't come in that manner. So then he says, if I'm withholding any deeper knowledge about this recitation of the Nembutsu, then I'm losing sight of the compassion of Shakyamuni Buddha, of Amida Buddha. Okay, I'm missing the whole point of why they are even here in existence. Why did the historical Buddha be born? Why did he share his teachings? I would be missing the point if I didn't understand this Nembutsu that's open to all beings by being available to anyone, not just the scholars, not the top 10% of people who are studying, but anyone, even people who can't read. So when we think about compassion, being able to reach people, this is the meaning of compassion, right? Everyone's included, not just these three people who can read and study and figure it all out, right? That's very elitist. It's in the Pure Land teachings of infinite compassion. It must be for everyone, or else it means nothing at all. So this is what he wrote. All right. I hereby authorize this document with my handprint. The Jodo Shu way of the settled mind, Anjin. We talk about Shinjin here, settled mind, awakened mind. Okay. The way of Shinjin is imparted here. I have no other teachings than this. And so he signs it January 23rd, 1212, and he died a month later. So the final thing he wanted to leave, make sure everyone knows that, and this is what he wanted to write. It's not that scholarly approach. It's not this intellectual thing that we go through. That this is more of our self-centered, ego-centered effort. The teachings of Nembutsu is not like that. And this is what he shared with Shinran. And you hear, when you read Shinran's words, he keeps saying the same thing. This is what he learned from Honen here. This is what he learned from Honen here. Okay, it does develop further, but his initial effort to share the teachings of the Nembutsu. This is what I received from Honen Shonin. I provide this for you. Okay. There's nothing more we need to know. Okay. So this is my Honen Shonin sharing today, please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda. All right, thank you.
Sensei, thank you for your message today. Would everybody please stand for the next gatha? May peace prevail on page 89 and 90. In the white book, sorry. Thank you, Reverend Fujimoto, and those who helped with the altar preparations and with the service. Thank you to YouTube people, Morgan Fair Hashimoto, and the newest trainee, Doug Dorr. The altar flowers by Jackie, Dorothy, and Lenny. Organist, of course, Lenny. Thank you very much for the information. And those who brought refreshments. Are there any visitors today? I know we have a couple. Please stand and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Bridget in Seattle, and I'm
Welcome.
I'm Richard. I'm from Alameda. It's not as far away. So I guess it can be easy.
Thank you for coming to our service. We have a few announcements. Next Sunday, February 23rd, is our family service, and Ask Reverend Dennis. There's going to be a documentary film after the service, Alternative Facts, The Lies of Executive Order 9066, in observance of the Day of Remembrance. Sunday, March 2nd, we will have the BCA Eitaikyo Service. It's going to be a virtual service, and we hope that everybody will come and watch it in the social hall. Again, it's going to be the regular time, 10 o'clock. Sunday, March 9th is our Shotsuki monthly service. Guest speaker is going to be Reverend Kenji Akahoshi. I know we have Lenny that has another announcement.
Morning, everybody. If you're going to the luncheon today, if you decide you don't want to drive, we have people who can take you. Also, we haven't had a recent photo of our group. So after Yoshoko, can you just stay here and we're going to take a group photo of the ABWA members? And they want us to be at the restaurant by 11:45, so we have some time. Okay, thank you.
One announcement. So it was already mentioned that the first service of next month, March 2nd, we're going to have the BCA Eitaikyo Service, and this is going to be through Zoom. So we're going to, hopefully we'll meet in the social hall. We'll have an altar set up over there, and the large screen. We'll be able to participate, chant with the others who are this is the final day of our National Council meetings, so we're going to be meeting next weekend and the following weekend, the people involved in the meeting. And so the final day is always this Eitaikyo service. This year, the Bay District is the host of all these meetings, and so the Bay District ministers, of which I am one, we've been working on this service and the final program. So hopefully, we're hoping at all of our temples, Bay District temples, and throughout the BCA, that they might have a group at their temple to be able to view it together. If you cannot come, there's a link to be able to view it from home and participate from home. But if you can come, this will be the setting here. You'll be in the social hall, a little more relaxed setting, and to be able to view this service. Even next weekend, there are public workshops, virtual public workshops that you can participate in if you would like. The theme for all these meetings is a promise shared. And I'm very happy to have this theme because it was my idea. A promise shared, okay? So I said, you know, a promise shared can mean so many different things, right? It might be the promise of Amida to share infinite compassion to all beings, right? It might be a promise shared that your grandparents or your parents brought you to the temple and you continue to come because they made this effort, they made this connection for you. So this promise shared, right? A promise shared might be two little kids in the playground shaking their pinky, saying, I'll promise to be your best friend, right? It could be so many things of a promise shared. So with this, we are hoping to promise to each other, our leaders promising to continue their efforts to have this temple for all of us, you know, our own promise to seek out our spiritual path, to find somewhere. Maybe it's here, maybe not, but to find our spiritual connections, our spiritual path, to find something that has meaning, can bring meaning to our lives, and that we are able to share with those people dear to us, those people around us. So this is the meaning of a promise shared. So this whole effort that's been going on for 3 years is kind of culminating, and this final service on the 2nd is going to be happening here. Okay, so there's a lot of other programs. If you would like to know about them, look them up. That would be good. The BCA website shows you links. You look at the National Council, it opens up to so many opportunities for you to learn, to hear from Bishop Harada, town hall meeting, and all these kind of things. But if you come here, people we know and we are accustomed to, comfortable setting, come here on the 2nd, right? Thank you.
Thank you all for attending this morning's service. Please come forward to offer incense.
You want to take a picture?